The U.S. House of Representatives just passed a bill that would register 14 million young men for the draft. The bill passed 217 saying yes, 199 saying no, and it was bipartisan. And it was introduced by Democrat Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania. But there's something you should know. This bill is not reintroducing the draft. It's not bringing in anything new. For the past 50 years, every American male, once he turns 18, has to register for the Selective Service just in case there is a draft. For the past 50 years, there have been penalties for not doing this. While I don't like it still, all the bill is doing is saving these guys the trip, the letter, or any punishments for not registering for Selective Service. And the reason why there is a bipartisan effort to keep some infrastructure for the draft is just in case there is another major world war or an attack on our soil. If the draft was reinstated once again, no politician who did not vehemently oppose it would get reelected. In 2003, Charles Rangel tried to reintroduce the draft. That bill died on the floor. He tried again in 2004 and it was shot down by the House. 402 no and only 2 saying yes. He tried again in 2017 and failed. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter introduced the draft again after the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. Guess what? He didn't get reelected. Fun fact, the American Civil Liberties Union has been fighting for the right of women to get drafted. Remember, just because the House passes a bill doesn't mean it's actually going to make it through Congress, especially when it has to go through the Senate, which is Democrat controlled. And when I say it's unlikely that the Democrats are going to pass this bill, look at this. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat of New York, blasted the bill on Friday afternoon over the inclusion of amendments curbing funding for abortion, transgender medical care, and diversity efforts. If that bill passes, it's a huge loss for the Democrats because of these 3 key issues being curbed. And because most people don't know the difference between registering for the draft and the actual draft, they're just going to be terrified that they're going to get drafted and go after the Democrats. Then there's just tactical common sense. In 1973, the U.S. military decided to fill its ranks exclusively with volunteers rather than draftees, and the decision has proven sound. Soldiers are more likely to follow orders and keep in the chain of command than people who've been brought there against their will. Just look at the war between Russia and Ukraine, or how poorly we did in Vietnam. And we know that recruitment numbers for the Army and Navy are low. One of the reasons is because social media is exposing all the horrible things that the United States is doing around the world, and our soldiers are not being compensated anywhere near to the level that they were even 30 or 20 years ago. And yes, it's nice to know that the bill includes the largest ever military pay raise in history with a 20% increase for junior enlisted troops. But our soldiers also deserve better life insurance, health insurance, and freaking therapy to deal with the PTSD that inevitably comes. Our veterans are between 50 to 60% more likely to unalive themselves than someone who is not served. And the widespread availability of this accurate information makes young men and women much less willing to enlist. So maybe the American military can actually take care of the business that they should instead of overpaying their contractors and high-ranking military officials. But to sum this all up, no, there is no draft. You have always had to register for the draft. This bill just automates it. My name is the Geo Hussar. Please share and repost this video, but more importantly, do not believe the doomsayers, and I invite you to verify everything I have just said in this post. Thanks for watching.